Hello everybody, my name is Alexy I'm the AI Committee Architect at Neo4j and founder organizer for AI by the Bay and Bay Area meetups. Here with us we have Michele Catasta, who's the president of Replit.
Correct.
And Michele just was on a panel. What was your panel about?
I think the panel was about how to build AI applications today, especially agents. That was the focus.
And so Replit Agent is #1, I think, application builder thing.
Correct.
And like we've seen you evolve from basic things to an iPhone. So tell us, what's like the most common way for people to build apps with Replit these days?
We've seen a lot of variety on what people are building with our agent. Definitely a lot of full stack applications, including database integration, hot, and so forth. We're also seeing a lot of data dashboards. People find them very useful to process data and put it in front of customers. And I'm very excited about internal tools in companies because they allow you not to buy very expensive SaaS, create a product that is very easy to use for everyone, and we're getting a lot of traction there as well today.
Yes, and like if you are on X, you see Amjad always posting like this guy just built an app over the weekend which earned a lot of money, and like this guy was waiting for some team to build something, he got tired and built it in Replit. So like, do you see a lot of the stories coming away?
It's all the time, and I think we repost them because we're actually very excited about them. It's not purely marketing.
No,
it's
absolutely.
the idea of feeling, wow, this product is really enabling people to create software 24/7.
Yes.
Like even when they have some downtimes during the weekend, rather than doom scrolling on social, they spend time building a Replit.
Yes.
That is such a wholesome mission that we are accomplishing.
Absolutely. And so like what really excites me, you're really democratizing it, right? Like I think Amjad said he wants to make 1 billion developers, right? And I just stopped by the talk from your DevRel guy.
From Matt, yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
Matt is like showing a slide which says like what is debugging, right? Like what is API call? What is 404, right? So do you really see people who did not have coding experience getting into this and basically using AI to learn how to do this?
Absolutely, 100%. We've seen people with no coding background whatsoever becoming successful at creating applications. And not only they are successful at creating, but in the process they also learn.
Yes.
Like our agent is very chatty, it explains every single step that he's taking. And we do that on purpose, just to train your skills in creating code with the agent as time goes by. So the more you build, the more proficient you're going to become using it.
Yes. Do you keep track of what most common questions people have, what most pitfalls they have? Like basically you can probably make a course based on the most frequently asked questions.
First of all, we are about to make a course with deep learning AI, exactly covering all the pitfalls and the successful prompting strategies that you can follow. And yes, we do a lot of data-driven analysis, and in a sense, we prioritize the roadmap of what we build on agent based on the both successful prompts and whenever users get stuck in the process. And it's a journey. Definitely, the agent we have today is the worst agent we will ever release. Every day we release a better version, and we're gonna keep doing that for long.
Tell me a little bit about this evolution. I remember you partnered with LangChain, so you are basically basing on LangGraph.
Correct.
Right. So what does LangGraph give you?
So LangGraph is a great starting point to think about agents in a principled way, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel yourself. And it comes with also a very good side benefit of this tight integration with Langsmith. Langsmith is an observability framework for agents, and I was very adamant about having observability from day one in the project, because agents can fail in such so many wild different ways that if you can't really track what is going on, you're really never making progress. You're always going to be adding regressions.
Yes.
So that was like a very useful tool that helped us since before we released Agent V1 back in September.
So this is a FikaAI, so the series about people on AI. So I just want to ask you a little bit about your personal history, right? And I was digging through my emails, as you know, emailing you, and then I found that we mailed back in 2015 when I was in Florence at a conference. I think you were a graduate student, and you were doing Scala, and you asked me about some data from Mechanical Turk because I used to be at Amazon before.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about your own evolution in software engineering, how you came to be president of Replit, what you did before.
I started as an open source software developer. I've done a lot of work under the Apache umbrella, had contributions to Hadoop, Lucene, Solaire. That's where I trained my open source muscle over time. And then I became very fascinated with what was called machine learning back in the days.
Right.
And the reason is I had the tools to manipulate data, and I kept asking myself, what can I do with it, aside from processing it? So I made my entire career bet on machine learning, and I started to work on crowdsourcing a bit, because as you know, back in the days, that's how we collected labels for supervised learning.
That's right.
And then over time, deep learning accelerated very much, so I became more and more interested. The moment that transformers became available in open source, I immediately embraced them to work on basically language models for software creation. The rest is history. I've been doing research on that at Stanford. I was at Google working on Palm and Palm 2, the LLM generations right before Gemini. And then the moment I felt models were becoming powerful enough to create something like Replit Agent, then I decided to focus more on agent building rather than purely training models. This is the last challenge I've been going through in my professional career, and it's a lot of fun, to be honest.
I think it's amazing, right? Like at every juncture, you made the right choice. You went where the gradient, right?
Yes,
is the most efficient.
I followed the gradient.
You follow the gradient.
Correct.
The gradient. So, but what's interesting to me, so I've been a Replit user since way before it became an AI company, because it was a niche little terminal, right? It's a REPL. It's known for functional programming geeks. And so it used to be basically you spin up an environment for your OCaml or Haskell or something, because it's hard to do, right? And so how did you connect with Amjad? Like, how did you move basically Replit from the little terminal, where you run REPLs, to an AI agent? Like, what was the evolution? How did you converge with thinking of at Replit before that?
I think the mission that Amjad had in mind back in the days was always the same, empowering the next billion software creators. He started the company with the assumption that making the development experience easier would have lowered the barrier of entry, which is true. But what we found out over time is that we needed to drop that barrier of entry by orders of magnitude rather than gradually. So when we initially met, we started to brainstorm even more about agents, even though they were not even called that way back in the days. And the moment we felt we could have built Replit Agent, we pushed basically the entire company beyond it. And then we made it happen like literally 6 months ago. So again, we're following the gradient. The curve was a bit less steep back in the days. And the moment we could make it happen, we really created a product that billions of users could be using already today.
Fantastic. And so the last question is, like, the developers span a spectrum. So there are newbies who know nothing, and people like you who know functional programming, and and everybody in between. So what, is Replit only for newbies, or are there sweet spots for experienced developers who want to improve Replit Agent itself?
There are definitely sweet spots, and we have a lot of expert developers on Replit today. The reason is, even though you will be capable of building a full stack web app on your own, time is correlated with money. So if you feel that the agent can make that happen, with 1/10 of the time it will take you to do it on your own, of course you will trade that time, for money. And that's what a lot of developers are doing, are creating the initial prototype on Replit. Maybe after that they're taking it out, they are either deploying it or they're further developing it with their own skills. But I think we're empowering everyone to be more productive. Some people will hit the ceiling because their skills are not there yet, and some others will take whatever the agent created and keep evolving it.
Nice. Actually, one more question after this.
That's it.
We're a Neo4j, we're a graph database. LangGraph is a state machine for agents.
Correct.
What the best thing you like about graphs, and how are graphs used in the Replit Agent?
I think graph is an amazing abstraction. Actually, also done research on graph neural networks. So it's something I've been very passionate about for a decade at this point. The reason why it's fundamental for an agent is because you're not building a flat or linearized agentic workflow. There are a lot of different decision points that you could be taking. And the reason why you represent what an agent does as a graph is because you have a feedback loop. You have an environment where you take actions, such as you edit your code, you execute it, and then you debug it. So basically you go back to step one, and then you edit the code again, run it and debug it. So graph is the only type of data structure that allows us to really capture all the different steps that the agent can be taking. It's slightly more advanced than what has been built in the past, but definitely is a good starting point. And that's why I recommend people to at least take a look at LangGraph documentation. It's the right starting point, the right abstraction.
And this is all open source. LangChain is an open source project.
Yeah.
Open source everything. So thank you.
Also, you guys with Neo4j contribute a lot in the open source. So
all our developers in open source. So we're happy to work with folks like you to build apps on top of.
We love open source and Replit, as you can imagine.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michele. Appreciate it.
Of course. It's been a pleasure.